Unit 3, Lesson 7 deals with solving equations that have variables on both sides. Alright, this is a new idea which requires a new step, so make sure you're paying careful attention today. Alright, some of the stuff is still similar, however. You'll notice that our big goal here is to make sure we know how to show the work necessary to solve these. Again, correct answers are nice, but without the work, it's not meaningful. So let's make sure we're showing our work. We have all the same stuff we had before. Okay, always simplify before solving. Alright, remember that means distributing, collecting like terms. Okay, two things we saw before. Distribute, collect like terms. And I'm going to add one more thing and make sure you have this on if you want credit. Okay, we mentioned before in class, you should be watching and listening to the whole video, trying to understand things and making sure that you have everything written down or you won't get credit. So we're distributing, we're collecting like terms. We are also, we're going to call it bringing one variable to the other. There's an E there, one variable to the other. Alright, so same steps, ask what's being done in the variable, do the opposite operation, do the same to the other side, and solve. None of that's going to change. Alright, let's take a look at example number 1 and example number 2. Okay, and what you're going to see is the difference between what we're doing today and what we've done in the past. In the past, we looked at problems that had variables on the same side. And what we did was, alright, we said we were going to collect like terms. We called this simplifying. Alright, 4 plus 6 is 10, so that means I have 10z, and on this side, 20. Okay, there's still another step here, but I want to go over to number 2 and show you the difference. Alright, in example 2, you'll notice that my variables are on opposite sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move one to the other. Okay, and it really doesn't matter which one you do. Alright, and I'm going to prove that because if you notice, when you look at number 3, it's the same as number 2. Alright, so this step, really, there's no right or wrong way. Okay, so let's say I want to move the 6. I'm going to subtract 6z from both sides. Alright, over here I get 20. Positive and negative is 0. Over here, 4 minus 6 is negative 2. Alright, notice the difference in the first step. Okay, and we're going to write something above here that's going to help you remember this. Okay, and for this, we had same side. So we're going to write same sign. On this problem, our variables were on opposite sides. So we did the opposite sign. Okay, so again, to review, in example 1, the z's were on the same side, so I did what the sign told me to do, which was add. In number 2, they were on opposite sides, so I did the opposite of that sign to get these two things together. Alright, let's go ahead and solve these things now. Alright, solving, that's still the same. I'm going to divide both sides by 10. I end up with z equal to 2. Over here, divide both sides by negative 2, and we get z equals negative 10. Obviously, you see that we have very different answers, okay, because these are very different problems. Alright, so be careful with these. Make sure you take the time to look and see where those variables are. Okay, so in number 3, I told you that we were going to do this problem twice because you may be thinking, well, why'd you move the 6? Why don't you move the 4? Okay, let's move the 4. So if I'm going to do this, again, I'm on opposite sides. This one's on the left, this one's on the right. So I'm going to do the opposite sign. The 4 is positive right now, so I'm going to make it negative. I'm going to do the same over here. And what that gets me is 20, and positive 6 and negative 4 is a positive 2z equals 0. It's important that you have this 0 here. Okay, you can't leave half of an equation blank. That 0 means something. It's very important. Alright, Now we go ahead and solve like we did before. I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides. 20 and negative 20 is 0. I don't need to write 0 here because I have 2z that I'm going to drop down. And over here, that's going to be negative 20. I divide by 2, and I end up with z equaling negative 10. And guess what? Same answer, because it's the same problem. All right, so it doesn't matter which one you move. Now, normally you'll hear me say from now on, move the smaller to the larger. And the reason why I like doing that is because it helps avoid a sign. If you move the bigger one, notice 6 is bigger than 4. When you move the bigger one, what happens is you end up with a negative variable. If you look over here, if you move the smaller one, you'll end up with a positive variable. And that usually helps avoid a sign mistake. Alright, 3 more examples to go. Example number 4. Again, I'm going to look at this problem, alright, and say I have variables on opposite sides. So I'm going to move one to the other. I'm going to move the smaller one, in this case 1x, by doing the opposite sign. Opposite side, opposite sign. 1 minus 1 is 0. That's gone. 4. 2 minus 1 is 1. I don't need to put the 1, but if I do, that's fine. And I'm here. This is all part of simplifying. Okay, now I have one variable, and I could ask, what's being done to this variable? Well, we know how to solve an equation, so we're going to add 6 to both sides. Negative 6 and positive 6 is 0, and I end up with x equals 10. Alright? Now, I want you to put this underneath here. Alright, again, make sure you have this. I'm going to check this answer. Checking your answer with variables on both sides is the same thing you did before, except now you have 2 calculations to do. Alright, I put 10 in for the first one. I have 10 plus 4 equals 14. Now I have to do the right side. So this was the left side. Now I'm going to do the right side. Alright, so I have 2 times 10 minus 6. 2 times 10 is 20, minus 6 is 14. 14 equals 14. We know that is right. Alright, that's how you check yourself. Let's move on to number 5. Alright, you'll notice number 5 is kind of different. Alright, because not only do I have variables on opposite sides, some on the left and some on the right, but I also have like terms on one side. We should always simplify with like terms first. So I'm going to rewrite this as 11x minus 3 equals 23 minus 2x. Now again, there are other ways of doing this, but this will help you avoid most mistakes. Now that I've collected my like terms, and again, same side, same sign. Okay, so in this case, I do what the signs tell me to do. Now I need to get the 11x and the 2x together. The 2 is negative, the 11 is positive, so I'm going to move the smaller to the larger. Opposite side, opposite sign. That's 13x minus 3 equals 23. Alright, now all that stuff is considered simplifying. Let me start to solve this thing. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. I have 3x equals 26. Divide by 13, and we have x is equal to 2. Again, you could check that by throwing 2 into all this stuff up on top, and it should equal out. Let's go ahead and do that really quick. 2 times 10, that's 20, plus 2 minus 3. That's 22. 22 minus 3 is 19. Over here, I have 23 minus 4. And that is also 19, so 19 and 19 is good. I know I'm right. Alright, last problem. Again, I have variables on opposite sides. So I'm going to move the smaller to the larger. Alright. Again, if you're not sure which one's smaller, you're not going to be wrong in this step. Okay, but if you do the smaller one, you'll end up with a positive variable. So 1/3 is smaller than a half, so I'm going to subtract 1/3 y from each side. Alright, and that's going to give me, now you need to get a common denominator. Remember, you could use your calculators to do this. Alright, let's take care of the easy side. That's 0 with a 2. Alright, so I have 2 on the right. Over here, let's see. Common denominator would be 6, so I'm going to multiply top and bottom of that by 3. That's 3 over 6. Top and bottom here by 2. That's negative 2 over 6. So 3 minus 2 is 1/6 y. Okay? Now, getting rid of the 1/6, there's 2 ways of doing that. We are multiplying by 1/6, so one of the things you could do is divide by 1/6 if you're using a calculator. Or, like we've said before, we prefer you get rid of a fraction by learning how to use its reciprocal. Alright, because 6 on top, 6 on the bottom is going to cancel. I'm left with y equal to, over here, 2 times 6 is 12, y equals 12. Alright, so that's it. Make sure you have all this stuff written down. Again, remember, you could always re-watch things if you need to. We'll see you tomorrow in class.